Good morning.
Good morning.
Alana, are you familiar with exactly what we're supposed to do in this as the moderators?
I believe you're supposed to ask us questions.
Okay. I was hoping for a list of questions.
It's
Sure.
not just me, right? There's going to be a couple of other panelists.
I believe so. I thought Brenda was going to be in here as well. Okay. So that's just, as long as I'm clear on my role, I'm just asking you folks questions to talk about your organization and how you help with credit and so forth.
That's what my understanding is. Normally they have someone like Bob Cushman asking us all kinds of questions, and there's a panel of 4 of us, and so
Okay. Just
that's how
make
we've
sure.
done it in the past. But
Yes, Delisa. Please.
hi, Raj. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Raj. I haven't met you in person, but I see that you've been on several of these calls now. Good morning, Walter.
Good morning, Walter. Okay, Brenda and Tony should be right on with us. Okay, try that again.
Now, I'll be able to see their cameras as well, correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
There we go. Hi, Tony.
I got it. I have the questions now. Thank you, Delisa. All right. It looks like we want to go ahead and get started here. So today I'd like to thank the 3 panelists that we have to discuss credit worthiness. I do have a few questions for each panelist, and we'll go ahead and start from the top. The first question is, from your perspective, okay, please highlight one factor that makes a business owner lender and or credit ready. Alana or Tony, either one can start. I don't see Brenda yet, but we can go ahead. Let's start with Alana.
Sure. Let me go ahead and start with where there's 2 types of credit, and we're talking about either consumer or business. If you're talking about your consumer credit, which is your own personal credit, what I always see when I like to see a client that is ready for business loans and whatnot getting in there, they have a credit score of about 680. Now we jump over to the business side of it. For me to consider you credit ready, you have all your ducks in a row. That means you're an entity, a business entity. You've you have your business, your state licenses. You have everything that's necessary, and actually showing that you are an official business and not just some pop-up that's going to go away in a couple of days.
So sure, I'll jump in. So my name is Tony Salazar. Thank you for the Urban Chamber for inviting us. I'm part of the Nevada SBDC, which is a nonprofit organization here in the state of Nevada, and we provide free coaching for business owners. So as counselors, what we look at when people are going, as a startup, we definitely look at their financials. We want to see that you have some income coming in. Also, on the credit worthiness, that we see that you have a viable business, that you have a business plan, that you have some kind of strategy or kind of to go to market or marketing plan. And more specifically, obviously, when we get into the personal credit, we want to see your FICO scores that are pretty high, your credit history. Are you making your payments on time? Are you making, you don't have anything back, taxes owed or bankruptcies? So those are the things that we definitely want to see your history.
So Tony and Alana, and this is for the guests that's out there and listening. Credit sometimes can take a while to be repaired if you've had a few issues in the last 6 months. Can you get someone business credit ready within the next 90 days? Is that even possible?
Absolutely. It is possible, and I'll say this: when you're talking about business credit, if you do it correctly, and that is not attaching anything to your personal credit, and it is all based on your business, you can get someone credit ready within a matter of weeks.
Excellent. Tony?
Yes, absolutely. Like Alana was saying, there's different entities that you can do, for example, an LLC or a C corporation, S corporation, that you can file with the state of Nevada. And so that's a whole separate entity. So it has nothing to do with your personal credit. So you want to definitely build up your business credit worthiness. And so that's a whole other aspect of getting that person ready. And of course, part of that is having a good business plan, registering with a DNB, a Duns and Bradstreet number, having an Experian score, business score, and applying for small, revolving credit, business credit, right? And so as you build that up throughout the 90 days, and hopefully you can even get a business credit card. That's where you want to go.
Can we talk a little bit more about that? Because I've had several small business owners ask me, "Hey, Michael, is it important for me to register my business with Dun and Bradstreet?" Can one of you kind of talk about that, or both of you talk a little bit about the importance of Dun and Bradstreet, how the reporting actually works with them, if you have that information?
Sure. So Dun and Bradstreet is basically, it's the easiest way to compare it to is your Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. It's going to report all of your business transactions when it comes to anything that's related to a credit based 30 net 30 days. When you're using a vendor or a bank that's going to lend to you. So you don't automatically get one of these. It's something that you have to actually go out, make sure that you enroll with Dun & Bradstreet. The same thing with your business credit. You're not using your social security number. So when you talk about consumer credit, you have to start with your social security number and you have to build up on it. When you're talking about business credit, the beauty of it is the minute you have a business established, you are the bottom of the barrel and you already have a business credit score. Business credit scores start at 0 to 100. So they're scored a little differently than your consumers that goes from 300 to 850. Trying to think here. What else can I tell you about it? So the Dun & Bradstreet, it also has its own scale. And basically what they're looking for is, are you paying on time? So when we talk about a net 30, that means they're going to give you 30 days to pay back any money or any products that you purchased from them. You have the 30 days length to pay it back. If you go over the 30 days, of course, it starts taking off points from you, and now you don't look so good. But if you get it paid back right away, then you'll go ahead and accumulate those credit scores really quickly.
Thank you, Alana. Just before we get into the next answer here from Tony, if anyone has a question, please feel free to type it in the chat section. I'd be more than happy to ask one of our panelists for you. So again, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in there. But go ahead, Tony.
Sure.
If you had something you wanted to add.
Sure. Obviously, so like Alana was saying, Dun & Bradstreet is a private organization like your TransUnion, Equifax on the consumer side. So when you register with them, you're pretty much registering all your business entities information. You want to be prepared with that, obviously with your EIN number that you can file through the IRS, because that's the one, how they're going to track you is through the EIN number of the entity. And so also you want to, which is a great little tool, is that Dun & Bradstreet, you register also your NIAC. It's called a NIAC code, or your National Industrial Code. So for example, if you're a import-export business, right? So you're importing, exporting products from the US to, I don't know, another country. So you register as your NIAC code as an import-export business. And so that helps you to even network with other businesses, to network with them in your industry. So you're having suppliers that are in they have a Dun & Bradstreet also. So when you do business together, you're having credit worthiness. And so you have to report that also. So say someone is also your supplier, or you're a vendor of them, you can also report that. And that's part of the reporting of your credit worthiness and building up your business credit.
It looks like I have one question here. Why is business credit different from personal credit?
Go ahead, Tony.
Sure, I'll take that one. So pretty much when you register, so it depends. So if you're a sole proprietor, what happens is your Social Security or yourself is the business. So when you're a sole proprietor or that status, they actually look at your consumer credit. So you're one and the same with a business. Now, when you become an LLC or a C corporation or S corporation, you're actually saying, I am not the business. The business you're birthing, it's you're birthing a little baby, like saying, through your EIN number. And so this is another person or entity that is separate from you. You just manage that entity, or you're the guardian of that entity, right? And so just like your children, you can get them credit, right? And build up their credit. You're doing the same thing. So it's just that when you have a new entity, it has no credit at all. And so you're establishing credit with them. And so that's why it's easier, because if you have a past history, it's not a barrier to enter the business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly what
right?
Thank you. Now, Christy, does that answer your question? I'm just waiting on the chat. Okay. Alana, if you want to chime in, please do.
I actually love Tony's answer. That's the answer that I always get, and people always look at me a little funny when I say, "Well, it's just like you had a child." It is. The reason you have the two separate is for liability purposes. We don't want you to start a business and, just like you said, not have any access to any capital because of your past discretions. This provides you the way to get out of it. If you have a great business idea, you can make tons of money doing it. We don't want to prevent anybody here in the United States. We don't want to prevent anybody from doing that. So we provide those entities like the LLC, the S corp, limited partnerships, all of those wonderful things. I personally recommend always having a business entity rather than going the sole proprietor route. Sole proprietorship is very simple, very, very simple to get into, but it does put all that. It's like carrying your child around on your back for the next 20 years or however you're going to do it. You wouldn't do it with your own child, so don't do it with your business. Actually name it, give it its own social, which is their EIN number, and go from there.
So I have a question as just often small business owners will come to me and say, at the bank, and they'll say, "Hey, Michael, I want to get a small business loan, but I don't want to put it on myself. I just want the business to get the loan." They're under the impression that the bank is going to just look at the business that they recently started up over the last 30, 60, 90 days and not look at them personally. Can you explain why that, how that works? And please.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, by the way, I was in banking. I used to work for U.S. Bank, by the way. So I understand that. So bigger banks or commercial banks, they're going to see the whole big picture. Obviously they want to, they're going to see the business and it's viable, but also who's managing the business, right? So they will pull your personal credit score just so they know who you are as the managing member, right, of the entity. So, and also a lot of times when you have a higher risk and so they assess the risk part. And so, how is this person going to pay us back? And so if it's anything that's higher, they're going to ask for a personal guarantee, right? So what that means is that the bank can tell you, you know what, you're a little bit more riskier than the average Joe because your business has only been started in 90 days. So we're going to need a personal guarantee from the owner. So for example, just like in our analogy about a child, right? So when your child first have credit, sometimes you have to co-sign for that person, right? So that's what you're doing with a personal guarantee, is that the business owner is personally guaranteeing or co-signing for the business. So obviously that's why the reasons why they look at that. And so and obviously you're the underwriter of the loan or the bank and the financial institution, they're going to look at different criteria because they want to get paid back, obviously, right?
We have another question from Walter, but I'll get to that after Alana. Please, Alana.
I'm going to explain it really simple. Michael, I just met you. We're talking here and conversing. You want to lend me $1 million? It's as simple as that. When the banks want to follow up, they're going to just do their due diligence to make sure that I know who you are. I know where you're coming from. I know what you already owe and what you're going to be expected to pay in the future. I don't want to overextend your credit. That's not doing you any favors, and it's not doing our economy any favors, because if we start you up in a business, give you $1 million, and there's no way for you to pay it back, you're just going to end up filing bankruptcy. You could hurt other businesses. So getting in there and doing the due diligence to make sure that there is a personal guarantee if necessary, and if not, and your business is well established and that credit score is high up there, then they can bypass that whole role. But it is a matter of, like Tony said, who the manager is, who's gonna take this, who's gonna take our money and run, and who's gonna be solid and in our community, keeping us going and helping our economy regenerate itself and everything else.
Thank you, Alana. We have a question now from one of my colleague, Walter Carey. It's just basically whether a sole proprietor, LLC, or S Corp, how far back is a business owner's credit history considered or evaluated?
It depends on the financial institution. Usually the is usually it's 3 years. So they're going to go back 3 years and look at your, your personal credit worthiness and also your business credit worthiness, right? So if you're a startup and you don't have the 3 years, obviously, then they're going to go more heavier on the owner or the management credit worthiness. So they're going to go back and see mainly 3 years is the rule of thumb. Now, there's other financial institutions that are they're called CDFIs, community development financial institutions, and they'll only see for 1 year. So it depends. So you got to shop around what lending institution and their criteria, and you can ask them, and they will let you know.
See, that's really good information for me to know, because most of my stuff, I come from the legal background. So when I look at this situation, we're talking about how long information stays on your credit report personally, and then where else can they access information from. So I have seen individuals who filed bankruptcy 5-6 years back. They get denied a loan because of that bankruptcy. A bankruptcy is public record, and if LexisNexis wants to provide that information to the bank because they're doing that follow-up, that is something that could hinder you, and you'll have to give an explanation to the bank. Is that correct, Tony?
Yes.
They'll ask for that explanation, see what's going on. I know that from the 2008 fiasco that we went through. A lot of clients came to me in about 2012, 2013, and it was like, well, explain what happened here. Why now going forward, how can we say, you're on track? Generally, if that's the case, then they go ahead and provide that additional explanation, and you move forward. So,
well, thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's just a matter of how far they want to dig.
And just so we have Brenda just joined the group. How are you, Brenda? Thank you for joining us.
Technology. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks.
Brenda, we've asked the panel a couple questions, but if you wanted to chime in, one of the recent questions asked is, when you're starting out, what options do I have the business owner have to create credit worthiness?
A lot of what's going to happen with a small business owner is that personal credit is going to be pulled into play. And if you are thinking about starting a business, make sure that you go back and check what you're doing through your personal life, that you have all your pieces put together as best you can. If you don't have that, ask for help. Because what you want to do when you go to a bank or to a lender of any kind, you want to help them help you. And it's extremely important that you are very clear on what they are looking for. Don't guess, ask the question. They are more than happy to give you the answer, because they're there as your champion. They're there as your partner. They want you to succeed. And in that success, then you both succeed.
Excellent. And well stated, because again, in my career as a banker and a lender for a number of years now, I can't tell you how many folks come to me not understanding that their personal credit is going to be evaluated when they're asking for a commercial loan. They honestly feel that the business that they just recently established should be able to carry the weight. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. But I do have one other question here, reflecting back to 2019 Q4 to today. What has changed the most in the credit worthiness landscape, and why? Great question.
That is a fantastic question. I'd love to provide you an answer, but I'll tell you what I've seen on my front, because I pretty much pull people's credit every single day. There has been a lot of new notations on credit reports saying affected by COVID or anything along those lines right there. Affected by a natural disaster that could be a hurricane or tornado, anything along those lines. They're notating that on all of the credit reports, and this is consumer credit. I've also noticed that you're able to pull your credit report once weekly from all three of the credit bureaus. Some credit bureaus are providing the FICO score for you so you can monitor and make sure that there's no fraud, no late payments are being reflected during times when you were affected by the COVID or any of the natural disasters. Aside from that, I mean, they're trying not to keep and a lot of people's credit has gone up because all of their loans for student loans that were in default were corrected and put into the positive. so they actually got bumps in increases at this time. So that's what I've seen on a daily basis.
So I'll chime in. So a lot of the things that obviously the banks or lending institutions are becoming a little bit more stringent. What I mean by that, they're really looking at where are you at, where the business is at, what is the cash flow of the business, what is the debt the debt ratio of the business. So if you have a lot of debt, then you wouldn't qualify. Obviously, those things, because of COVID, they want to make sure that your business is going to be here. It's here to stay. So if you're going to get a loan, obviously, usually these loans are from 5 years all the way. Sometimes for a commercial building, it could be for 20 to 30 years, right? So your lender becomes your partner. So they want to make sure that if you're buying this building or equipment or, working capital, then you have, you're well established, you're here for the long haul, and that you're providing a great resource to the community, right? So obviously, they're going to look into your background a lot more, which is your personal credit worthiness or history. To piggyback on Alana, obviously, the federal government, any student loans that you have, they deferred those payments till January 2021. So all on your personal credit, it's reporting good payments. So that's a good bump for your credit worthiness, and when you don't have to pay, right? So any also SBA loans that you've had in the past, they've been deferred also, so you don't have to make any payments right now. So, but on your credit report, it is showing that it's being paying on time. So, and that's a good bump on your credit report.
Now, I would like to add to that too, that when I have clients who are asking me these kinds of questions, I give them Alana's phone number because she knows more about how the whole credit piece works and can give them logical steps of what they need to do. But one of the things that I have learned from Alana and from my clients is that be honest. If you are in your situation because of COVID, say so. This is truly understandable for what we're going through right now. Nobody's going to look at you askew. Nobody's going to have a negative response to that because we're all in it together. So be honest. First of all, be honest with yourself, and then make sure you're honest with those who are trying to help you.
I have another question. I'm a new business owner. Should I file as an S Corp, a C Corp, or an LLC? What factors should a small business owner consider when looking at those three entities?
I'll tackle that one. I think that when you are getting ready to file, you need to speak to someone who knows how to file for your kind of business, whether that is your CPA, whether that is a business management attorney. Don't listen to your cousin down the street who has a friend in New Jersey. It doesn't work. Okay. So if somebody tells you that you should be a whatever, you need to do the research to make sure that where you are right now is where you want to file. If you are just starting out, I would highly recommend that you don't start out as a C Corp. That's a lot of legalese, it's a lot of entanglement, and it's a lot of money, and it may not be appropriate for your business. So to just bottom line is get help.
Tony, did you
Sure.
want to add to that?
Yes, no problem. Obviously, a lot of people ask me the same question as a counselor, a business counselor. That's what we do here at Nevada SBDC. Usually what I ask them if it's going to be, first of all, if it's going to be a home-based business or if you're going to have a brick and mortar. Obviously, if you're going to have a brick and mortar, definitely LLC or a C corporation. Obviously, definitely consult an attorney or business attorney or tax accountant to know what's best is for you when it comes to taxes. Also, if you're going to start small, you can start as a sole proprietor because it is an easy transition to go into. For example, you can start your business as a home-based business, start up right now as the business, as a sole proprietor. But as you vamp up, you can transition into an LLC at any time or any other corporation.
Let me go ahead and continue on with that. So I take a little bit different view because, like I said, I do have a legal background. So when I take a look at it, I look at there's your sole proprietorship, your partnership, LLCs, and then you jump into the big boys, the S Corp and the C Corps. For the most part, most people are going to fall into that LLC range. Reason being, for a sole proprietorship, let's take a landscaping business, or you know what, let's take a photography business. I had somebody bring this model to mind the other day. They said, well, in my spare time I do photography. Okay, so you start it up real quick as a sole proprietor, and then you go to the wedding, you take all the pictures, and something happens to your camera and all of those pictures are gone. Well, now you have that liability to that bride who's going to be infuriated, and she's going to go and want to make a claim for damages against you. And that means lawsuit. Okay. So when you're going to go ahead and do that lawsuit, now she has the availability to go after anything that you own. So you already have your day job, and your day job built up all your house and your car and everything else. Depending on how outraged she is that you lost her pictures, that's where you're talking about the liability issues. Now, if you have that LLC in place and you've separated yourself from the business, meaning that you created that second entity there, and you've established that you're only liable for the amount that you actually started the business with. Okay, so the price of the camera and some other everything else that you've put into the business is where your liability is going to lay. It basically acts as a shield so that you don't end up losing your house and home for your side project. Now, one reason I would recommend a sole proprietorship is if you're doing a proof of concept. Okay, so if it's a proof of concept, something that you're going to use a little bit here and there, we'll see that, hey, this is actually working, go LLC right away so that you have that protection there. The other partnership, and lots of people ask about partnerships, and this is one that I say, no, just don't do it. And I know, this is my best friend and we've been friends forever. No, okay. if you really come down to it, this is what you're thinking. Brenda and I go into a partnership. I provide all the money. Brenda's providing the concept. Brenda goes out and decides she's going to rent a building and sign our names to everything and anything she wants. I'm over here. I run out of money. I'm still liable for everything that Brenda did. And people don't see this all the time. I've seen it time and time again. Partnership comes on, the person with the money's doing everything they're doing, they run out, and the other partner says, bye, I'll see you later. So when you're starting out, I would definitely, if you already know what you're going to do and you know that concept's going to work, go LLC. It's really not as expensive as people think. Choose your state wisely and go from there.
Thank you, Alana. As just a follow-up to that, is there a direct correlation to how a business is filed and the credit score requirements? Should a business owner need working capital?
Tony, you've done the banking part of it.
Yeah, say that you were breaking up. I didn't hear the.
I'm sorry. The question is there a direct correlation to how a small business is filed and credit score requirements? Should a small business owner need working capital?
Yeah. So is there a direct correlation? Yes. I mean, so it depends on your entity, right? So we were talking about different entities. So you have an LLC, which is separate from yourself, right? And then you have the sole proprietor. So you definitely, different institutions have different restrictions, right? So like a CDFI, they're going to look more heavier on the personal side. So because you're starting up, you don't have any business history, maybe you're just you're looking for capital to start and equipment now. So all those things come to play when you are getting a new loan. So I guess so what you want to do is make sure that all your, like everybody says, ducks in a row. What that means is that you have your business concept, your business plan. That's you have your projections of exactly what you feel is going to happen in the business, and also a description. Who is going to be your client? Who is going to be your focused client? It could be, for example, a janitorial company, let's say, as an example, and I want to go get working capital. I need $30,000. So I'm brand new, and I don't have, I haven't even started yet. So in your business plan, that's one things that they're going to ask, or the bank is going to ask. Okay, so are you going to go over, is it going to be residential mainly, or is it going to be commercial mainly, or is this going to be government contracting, right? How are you going to get paid? What is your process taking a customer, your customer, you do the job, and how do you get paid? Is it through a credit card machine? Is it, merchant services? Are you going to provide, who's providing that? Is it through PayPal, or is it through a website, right? So all of these things come into play, right? And so you really want to start thinking about what is the process of taking your client from start to finish, right? So one thing that I tell people all the time there's three things for your business to be successful. The number one thing is your people. So obviously it's you as a person, and also who's your partners, who's your employees, who are you going to be hiring to cater to your so you can have the best people, right? You need the best people to handle the service. Then also you have a process in that mix, right? So how do you take a customer, you take them in, and then have the whole process of getting the service, the quality of service that you're going to provide, or it could be a product that you're going to provide. So how do you even get paid and then get money in the bank, right? So, and then also follow up and follow through so they can go through the whole situation. Also, the last thing is the last P, that it's the 3 Ps: people, process, and product. What type of product or service are you providing? Is it as quality? How can you really be better in customer service? How can you be better on and really vamping up? So these are the things or questions that a bank or a lender asks. It's like, what is your secret sauce, right? What makes you different from everybody else, right? So I'm going to open up a burrito stand, right? Let's say. Well, there's like 20 burrito stands all over the place, right? So what makes you different, right? So you want to communicate that through your business plan, and also obviously in your know-how, right? So you're like, well, I have this type of experience behind me. You know, I have this great salsa or guacamole, right? So
Make me hungry.
and that's my secret sauce, right? And so obviously you want to bottle that up, right? And of course the lender's not, they're gonna even want to say, hey, give me a try, right? We want to see what your guacamole tastes like. Is it that wow, right? What's the wow factor? So you have to sell yourself from day one, right? If you're gonna be a business owner, you have to sell yourself from day one. And you have to be transparent about your financials, all of your your how do you do your business. You have to be transparent, and you have to let people know how you're going about doing things. If you think about all these billionaires, you know, Amazon, Walmart, you know, those big box businesses, they started as a small business owner, you know. And so what made them difference is that they had a team of people. It was not Jeff Bezos from Amazon that did everything, right? They had a team of people behind him, and got behind the vision, right? Your vision of the business and what you want to accomplish. So that's what I
Can you say your 3 Ps again?
it's
The
three
people.
P's. Your people, so know what your people are, right? Who's going to do what and what position. Like you were talking about the partnership part. Well, you want to definitely have a conversation with your partner. If you know, if it's a husband and wife, especially, right? Sit down and mitigate. You're going to do the financial part. I'm going to do the sales and marketing, right? That's kind of like. And so the other part, the other P is the process. How are you going to take the whole process from start to finish with a customer? So that's is like, you know, so obviously ring, ring, ring. It could be a on the phone or even a website. That's your portal, right? So for your sales. So, and you can even have both, right? If someone you're going to want someone to answer the phone, have that customer service. What are they going to say? How they're going to say it? You know, I remember working for US Bank, and this is, it's a great day at US Bank. May I help you, right? It was ingrained in us to do that. So you want to do the same thing. It's a great day here at so-and-so, you know, at our taco shop. You know, how can I bring new burritos to you, right? So all those concepts you want to know exactly and duplicate it. For example, like McDonald's, that's what made them so successful, is their process, right? So when you come in, you have the board, the menus. They had all the colors is the same. You have the mascot, which is the clown, right? Ronald McDonald. So all those concepts are there to take it's the customer's experience, right? So you want that whole process. What is that process or that customer experience they're going to have with you in your business, right? And of course, the third part to make it is is your product or your, you know, your service, right? So for example, in the McDonald's concept, you know, it's their burgers, right? They're always innovating their menu with new menu items, you know, the McRib, right? Or the you know, there is coming up with new concepts and trying new things too. Sometimes they're not good, so they you know, they pull that product if it's not a good product.
Thank you, Tony. Now, we've had several people enter the room since you folks have been talking, and, we've had a lot of good information shared, but there's one piece of information I'd like to share with those of you who've had questions about to form. About 10 years ago or so, I got into Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I also found that he did another book called Own Your Own Corporation. This book, this is by Garrett Sutton, but this book basically breaks down Nevada corporations. It actually has some neat stories that you can read and understand the perils of being in a partnership, for example. Alana, you mentioned one of the challenges of a partnership. I challenge or I encourage anyone who still has questions about what type of entity to form. I say this is one of the best reads, short reads that you can have. If you notice, I have the CD version. Sometimes I do like to just pop it in and listen to it because it's very, very, very informative. But I just wanted to throw this out there because, again, we've talked about a lot of this information, and this would be a really neat follow-up for you after the session if you wanted to educate yourself more on this. I do see that I had one other question. We've gotten some great questions. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Walter. But for aspiring millennial entrepreneurs with student loans, what are the chances of getting a loan to start a business? Great question.
No, you're done. There's no hope for it. No, that's you actually had. Okay, so let me put it this way. So, by the way, that book is excellent. That's a great book. Get a copy of it. You should know that back and forth. One of the things that you did when you went to school and you got all those loans is you actually got the training that you needed to start your business. So for you to have outstanding student loans, it should not prevent you from going on and getting whatever credit that you're going to need. Of course, make sure your loans are in whatever status they need to be, deferred, forbearance, if you got to put them on hold, if you got to make minimum payments. There's so many different programs right now. Your creditors just want to see, hey, are you attempting to make these payments and doing what you're supposed to do? So that shouldn't prevent you from owning a home, owning a business, anything like those. So your college degree is actually an asset when it comes to getting these loans because take Tony's example there. Let's say we're going into janitorial business. Well, I got my degree in business. So the people that I'm associated with, myself, the people I bring on, they already know the business. I know how to run the business. So a lender's going to look at that and say, oh, okay, so I'm not just giving this to somebody off the street who just showed up with a mop and bucket. All right. That was one thing I wanted to mention. So don't let a massive amount of student loans prevent you from doing that. Also, one of the other things I wanted to mention is in that janitorial example that he gave, there are other options than just going to a big bank, okay, to get credit started. So when I spoke about net 30 accounts earlier, I'm going to touch on those again. Businesses like Uline, Sands, they do the t-shirts. What do you need to do your janitorial business? I need cleaning supplies. I need, a printer and paper, and I need business cards. Okay, well, there's companies that will give you 30 days to pay, push it out to 60 if you need to. It's what arrangement you make with that company. And those companies all report to your credit bureaus, the business credit bureaus, and then that's how your business credit score is established. Okay, so going and saying, hey, I need 15 t-shirts for my staff. I need the cleaning supplies. I need all of these things. You don't necessarily have to go to US Bank or any one of those big banks and say, I need $1 million loan. That's, a couple $100 here and there, $1,000, and you're in business. Okay. And now you've already established your business credit. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. Just make sure all of your ducks are in a row when it comes to those licensings and everything else that's required of your business.
So going back to the question for aspiring millennial entrepreneurs and student loans, actually that would help you. When you have a student loan on your credit, as long as you're paying on time, right? Or if it's like I'm saying, it's on the right track, right? Or is it in deferment? My experience with student loan providers, right? They're very, very willing and eager to help through the transition. You know, I don't know if you're still in that deferment stage, or if you're, you know, in the 6 month, when you get out of school, you have 6 months of non-payments, and then those payments start. You can actually push that out. There's a lot of programs. They're very eager to help you out in that status. Just tell them what you're going through, what your income is, be honest with them, and what your situation is, right? And so as long as, like I said, those payments are made, for example, I don't know, for example, I know that there was this one person that went to law school and they had about $150,000 in student loan debt, right? So obviously, right, getting out of law school, he wanted to put his own office, right? To be a lawyer and have his lawyer office and his own business, right? So actually that helped him out, because the student loans, because they saw the credit worthiness. If he's paying off his $150,000 loan, then we can trust him with another $150,000 for a startup.
Brenda, did you want to add to that, or?
Well, I will add 2 words. I agree.
Excellent. Thank you, Brenda. As we start to wind this session down a bit, I wanted to add something to this conversation as we're talking about student loan debt. As a banker, as a lender for several years, most of my lending, I wouldn't say most, half of my lending has been spent in SBA, Small Business Administration lending. That being said, I want to talk to you folks about credit worthiness as it relates to student loan debt, because I've run into a couple folks that have had awesome small business ideas, but unfortunately, because they failed to stay current on a student loan, when they came to the SBA for a loan, everything looked great. I mean, the business plan, everything was perfect. However, when we ran the credit and found out that they had a default on a student loan, the SBA, they were no longer eligible for SBA financing. And I want to talk about that just a bit, because eligibility is a heartbreaker, because that just means that there's a technicality that you can't fulfill because you failed to make good on those student loans. So please know that if you ever default on any other government debt, student loan being one of them, the SBA, you will be ineligible for SBA financing. So it's one of those things that as you're growing as an entrepreneur, you will at some point need the SBA. If not, then more power to you. But please don't take that option away from yourself because you failed to make good on a student loan. So that's my little 2 cents there. But as our panelists, I want to thank Alana. I want to thank Brenda and Tony for all of your great answers. I'd also like to send a special thanks to my colleague, Walter Carey. He provided several questions that really helped the panel, I feel, give our listeners a very good understanding for what credit worthiness, the importance of it, and what they need to do to accomplish or achieve it. So without further, if there's nothing else, I want to say that we'd be wrapping up this session here. And again, thank you so much to my panelists for your wonderful questions. So again, please proceed to the networking sessions to begin your one-on-one meetings with your resource partners and panelists. You can click the networking tab on the left side, and that's how you'll get there. So again, thank you all, and it's been my pleasure to moderate this session.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
See you in networking.